Great. So we have an eviction notice for the speaker today. It says, "Dear Speaker Pelosi, you are hereby given immediate notice that millions of Americans will face eviction tonight when the eviction moratorium expires. We call upon you to immediately call Congress to session to vote to extend the eviction moratorium and keep people in their homes. We're in the midst of the second worst COVID surge to date, and this is not the time to allow evictions to begin. Housing is a human right. Hashtag eviction moratorium, hashtag eviction crisis." So we'll be serving this eviction notice to Nancy, Speaker Pelosi, right now, and place it on her door.
All right, guys, as you can see there are protesters that showed up to Nancy Pelosi's house with an eviction notice saying, hey, why have you not solved this crisis? Why did you guys not get ahead of this? Because Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats decided that instead of focusing on this upcoming crisis they knew about, hey, let's talk about January 6th. Let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about giving us more power through the For the People Act. Let's talk about all that. Don't worry about, the fact that we haven't really distributed the funds that are allocated for this type of stuff, right? Don't worry about the fact that millions of people may or may not be homeless, right? After this eviction moratorium expires. Don't worry about that. Right? You just need to worry about Trump and January 6th. That's the biggest threat to the average American citizen. Trump and January 6th, those white supremacists, okay? That's what Democrats said, right? And then after doing all this, right, and trying to solve the problem, fix the problem at the last minute, after Joe Biden basically passed the buck to Congress, right? He passed the buck. He said, no. It's their problem, right? They got to pass legislation now, right? So they tried to pass legislation at the last minute, Nancy Pelosi, but it didn't happen. She blamed the GOP, but it's not the GOP's fault, right? That you guys want to do this at the last minute. She knew damn well it wasn't going to be successful. And now they're on a 7-week vacation. Can you believe that, guys? 7 weeks, right? Democrats are vacationing for 7 weeks while their constituents get evicted, right? While they're potentially facing eviction. They went on a 7-week vacation. They're on a 7-week vacation, guys. Remember, you pay your congressmen, these congresspeople, they get paid $170,000 plus a year. This is what our tax dollars are going towards, guys. Now there's infighting between the establishment Democrats and progressives in regards to who to blame. And AOC went on Jake Tapper's show to basically just flat out say it's the conservative Democrats' fault and not the GOP's fault for why this crisis is happening. Take a look.
Blame here.
Well, I think there's a couple of issues here. First of all, you are absolutely correct in that the House and House leadership had the opportunity to vote to extend the moratorium. And there were many, and there was frankly a handful of conservative Democrats in the House that threatened to get on planes rather than hold this vote. And we have to really just call a spade. We cannot, in good faith, blame the Republican Party when House Democrats have a majority. Now, there is something to be said for the fact that this court order came down on the White House a month ago, and the White House waited until the day before the House adjourned to release a statement asking on Congress to extend the moratorium. This came after weeks. I sit on the Financial Services Committee, which has jurisdiction over housing. We had, the housing secretary there asking about the administration's stance. We asked the Biden administration about their stance, and they were not being really forthright about that advocacy and that request until the day before the House adjourned. And so the House was put into I believe, a needlessly difficult situation. And it's not just me saying that. Financial Services Chairwoman Maxine Waters has made that very clear as well. And so there's a couple of contributing factors here. We have governors who are also not getting this emergency rental assistance out in time, which is forcing this extension, what we would like an extension of the moratorium. The fact of the matter is that the problem is here. The House should reconvene and call this vote and extend the moratorium. There's about 11.
All right, guys. So as you can see there, in a rare moment of truth from AOC, she is telling it like it is, right? She's saying, listen, the Democrats had plenty of time to get this done. We knew about this months in advance, and they didn't do anything. They did nothing. They did nothing whatsoever. Okay? And And she blames people like Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden, right? When she says conservative Democrats, she means Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden. And that's just, the progressive framing, right? Like if any of you guys, ever watch any progressive, news channels or whatever, right? They basically think that Pelosi and Biden are Republicans, right? That's what they believe. Okay, so that's why they call them conservative Democrats, right? It goes to show you how warped the political spectrum is, right? Everybody believes that, whoever's not aligned with them is an extremist, right? Or on the other side, okay? That's just kind of how it goes. Here's the problem with what AOC was saying, right? The problem is that she's blaming Biden and Pelosi, and they definitely are at fault for sure, right? But she should also blame herself. And the reason why she should blame herself is because she went along with the Democrat Party shenanigans, right? She went along with the Democrat Party wasting their time and effort on stupid things like Trump, okay? You remember his impeachment trial, okay? They wasted time on that, right? That took, 3, 4, 5 weeks, okay, for them to do all that? They wasted all their time on that. They wasted time on this January 6th committee. They wasted time on that. They wasted time on trying to pass the For the People Act, right? These Voting Rights Act that they knew they didn't have the votes to pass. And AOC went right along with it, right? AOC was up there boohoo crying, talking about January 6th and blah, 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 right? You went right along with the Democrat shenanigans because y'all main concern was Trump. Trump was y'all main concern, right? Your concern was not about these people or even the landlords really that were getting screwed over, right? Throughout this whole process. You weren't worried about that. Matter of fact, you were probably on board with a lot of the policies that have led to this situation, right? In terms of the lockdowns, forcing people out of their jobs, the extended unemployment benefits, not incentivizing people to go back to work. You was on board with all that stuff. So don't sit here and just blame Pelosi and Biden and say it's their fault. No, it's also your fault because you went along their shenanigans. When they were doing all that stuff, right? When they were going through the Trump impeachment trial, when they was doing the January 6th committee thing, you should be like, no, why are we wasting time on this? Trump is out of office. This is stupid. Why are we wasting time on this? We actually should be focused on making sure that these renters are getting their rent relief. The $47 billion advocated towards them. Okay? The $47 billion advocated towards them. We should make sure they're getting the relief. At the beginning of last month, July, guys, I think that they only had, $3 billion or so distributed out of $40-some billion. You knew that at the beginning of last month. But what was they focused on at the beginning of last month, guys? What was they focused on at the beginning of July? January 6th. January 6th happened 5, 6, 7 months ago. And that's why I'm going to sit back and enjoy myself and enjoy the Democrats go back and forth with each other in their throats over the blame game in terms of who's at fault for this. I'm glad that the AOC came out and blamed the establishment Democrats because she should, right? But she's also at fault as well because she's in the go along to get along gang instead of focusing on the real issues, which really, in my opinion, kind of justifies why a lot of progressives are now kind of turning on AOC to a certain extent because they realize that she's not really there fighting for real things, even if I don't necessarily agree with her policies, but she's just in the go along, get along gang with the establishment Democrats. And when they all get caught by surprise with this eviction moratorium, now they want to point fingers. When they was all in the same bed, they was all on board with wasting political capital on stupid things that weren't really solving any problems. The eviction moratorium should not be extended. What should have happened is they should have made sure those funds were distributed. They should have known basically back in April, right? May, it's like, okay, these funds are not really going out. This eviction moratorium is coming up. Let's actually focus our political capital. Let's focus our resources on getting this stuff out so that millions of people don't get evicted. But no, they would rather have millions of people get evicted, right? Even though the funds are there, right? That's the sad part. The funds are there, right? Again, it just shows you how inefficient and just how sorry of a government we actually have. The funds was there. So instead of focusing on getting the funds out and helping those people, a lot of whom, again, some of them definitely was gaming the system, just not paying rent for sure. But a lot of those people are in the positions because of the government caused lockdowns and struggles, right? So yes, you should focus on actually helping those people. And they did not do that because there was more concern about grabbing power, whether that be blaming Trump and the GOP for everything with January 6th, or passing the For the People Act and the voting rights bills that they knew damn well was never going to pass. So, like I said, man, I'm going to enjoy this infighting between Democrats, because if people actually do get evicted, right, if millions of people are homeless on the streets, boy, Democrats are going to get demolished come 2022. This is a layup for the Republicans, and they should take advantage of this. If they're smart, they should really, really, really come out here and hammer the Democrats on this and say, why are you guys not focused on getting the funds out, right? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.